Okay, we got the thing basically assembled. This is the bracket and the adapter. These bolts here are tight. These holes that these go in, these top two were already drilled and tapped in the machine, standard 6mm stuff. This thing here bolts on with two more, the same thing. And I'm going to move that just a little bit so you can see that that's an elongated slots, so that there is some adjustment in there if you need to move that. It's flipped up right now. I'm going to leave it loose just to make a couple of points here. I'm going to go ahead and flip this down. Okay. Now we're going to move on around the corner here. Okay, back at the front of the machine. We've installed the adapter bracket to the machine with two bolts, and then installed the edge guide itself to that bracket with two more bolts. It's that simple. 4 bolts and it's installed. Now, to eliminate that problem that I was talking about before with the other guide, the one that I was talking about, the tilt in there, it should be a matter of adjusting this up or down. You can see that it's moving like that. You should be able to adjust that up or down until you got it level, and then tighten these two bolts back here. Alright, now once that's set, the other issue we're having is to keep this roller itself. It's a little smaller roller. The idea is to keep this roller off of this plate and yet not allow material to slide underneath it, so it's actually guiding instead of trapping the leather. Okay, now assuming that this is tight, there's a thumb screw here. It moves up and down and moves that rack along there so that you can adjust it left or right. There's quite a bit of an adjustment in here. With anything mechanical, I think the shorter distance you can keep it, the less distance you're hanging out, the better. So I'm going to try to stick with that. Now, that looks pretty good height-wise underneath the roller, but you can adjust that easily. Let's see if I can get over here to where you can see what I'm doing. There's a thumb screw right up here. There is a slot for I guess a slotted screwdriver would work, but it's not that difficult. Now you can see that by turning that screw more or less, I can raise or lower that to the height that I want without having the arc of this plate become an issue, without having to worry about clearing anything here. This bolt, well, Allen screw, I guess maybe is a better, allow you to move it forward and backwards. There's actually more adjustment in this thing than I'd imagine a guy would ever need. Plenty of adjustment, left and right, angle, the height. You can adjust this thing clear to Tuesday, so that's not an issue. So it looks like everything's about where it goes. You can see the function of the thing. Get it out of your way, you just flip it up. And there you go. You will get ready to use it, flip it back down. So you don't have that space limitation here where you had before. Here you have to remove something to clear a corner or to turn a corner. Just that simple. I do have a small magnetic light right up here underneath the casting of the machine that's not being bothered by that at all. Now, that said, let me tighten all this stuff up. We'll see how it actually works. Okay, everything's bolted up all nice and tight. I think I've got it pretty close. If you look at the adjustment here, move that rack again. I think I'm running a fairly consistent height here. I don't think I got really any angle in there. If I back this all the way off, I have the top bracket. I have this bracket up here shoved clear to the picture left, towards the end of the machine as far as it will go, so that I don't have to extend this any farther than it needs to be. And it looks like with this bracket shoved all the way to the left, it looks like I could sew using that edge. I'd be right around 1 inch from the edge of the leather. If I had a straight edge up against here, the stitch line would be about 1 inch from the edge. Now, without getting into screw backlash and all that, you can set this however you need to be, and then once you get it where you need to, where you want to sew, then just tighten this down. I'm just going to finger tight this for now. Okay. Okay. Found a couple of pieces of scrap in there. I checked everything on here, all the bolts. It looks like everything's pretty good and tight. It's a little messy because I did, much as my nature, I did oil the crap out of everything. So, you got this set for about there. I didn't measure it, but I'm guessing that's about 1/8 of an inch. A couple pieces of scrap here. This belt strip just happens to have a border at around 1/4. So we'll give it a try and see what happens here. See if this thing doesn't stitch a little bit. Fairly simple stuff. This is 2 pieces of 9 ounce. So right around 1/4 inch. Running up against that roller just fine. Okay, now what I want to do is maybe spin this around. Now that I got the 2 pieces together, I'm going to flip this up, which is kind of what it's supposed to do, right? I'm going to spin this around. Yeah, maybe I'm going to spin it this far. I'm going to stitch over this way a little bit, just so you can see what we've got going on here, which is of course the reason for the black thread too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down, but I'm going to loosen this screw here, and I'm going to turn this rack back the other way. Remember I said I had about 1 inch, about as far back as I can go without moving anything other than this thumb screw. So I'm going to change this to about as far back as it goes. I'm going to tighten this back down. And then, because it doesn't matter with this project, I'm just going to zip that right over there so I'm up against the other edge. This border, those borders are 1/4 inch in. So this border is going to be about 1 inch from this edge. And again, flip that up, right on around the corner. Oops. Flip that back down. Okay, I'm going to pull this out, just about like so, and you can see that it's fairly quick adjustment. It's a very quick adjustment between right around 1/8 of an inch to just about right at 1 inch, and 1 inch from the other edge, like that, and able to spin both times at both ends without moving anything else. I think it's going to be a big time saver. I kind of like it already. Now, the next test, kind of the point for the thing, is if we're sewing something a little wider than a strap, some reason maybe for sewing 1 inch in. What I just did with the strap, you could have done with the table mounted roller guide that came with this thing. This, not so much. Just going to stitch down. I'm really paying no attention to where I'm going here. I'm going to flip this up. I can turn all of this. What is that? Is that 5 inches or 6? That's close to 6. Spin all the way around here. So anytime I get off this other edge, anytime I've got work to the right, this is going to save me time every time I sew something like that.